The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to the Hoop Ball NBA DFS Today podcast. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined tonight with the Shark himself, Mr. Mike Apotria. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing well. I finally got my computer running. We had a little bit of delay. We were sitting there talking to each other, wanting to watch some of this late game action, hoping to get the pod done nice and soon so we can watch our sweats. But, of course, when you want to move quick, everything moves slow. So here we are. But I'm looking forward to it, man. We got a fat slate ahead of us.
We do, and it's funny. We can our listeners are like family now that we've done so many shows. So I can apologize to you on the air. I was like snipping at you to let's go, because I'm dying here. I got such a monster sweat going in this Lakers game. We always record it, as everybody knows, the night before for the next game's slate. And this Lakers game is just, I'm so pumped because I could have a really, really good fantasy day. So I was barking at Mike to get it going as we rolled into halftime on the Lakers game. And for the record, LeBron has one real point at halftime. So I hope when we wrap up this show and I check the scoreboard, he goes ape shit in the second half. That's what I'm rooting for because I do have LeBron.
Yeah, you're going to need it. I mean, there was a lot of high priced guys you could have paid up for, and a good amount of them did pretty well. I know you said you had Doncic, so that's definitely going to help you out a little bit. But a lot of that ownership is going to be in that final game on those two stars, being Davis and LeBron, and you want to be on the better half of that.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. LeBron was only 42% owned, which is, anytime you get LeBron at less than half owned, you got to feel good. But obviously, everybody knew something, I guess, that I didn't. But it is what it is. The cool thing is this DFS world we live in, you go day by day. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday or what you'll do the following day. It's what we do today in DFS for this slate. So we are doing the 11-game slate on Monday, October 28th. There is the fantasy drafts slate starts at 7:30 Eastern. The rest of the sites start at 7. So we're going to include the two 7 o'clock games. So we're going to touch on all 11 games because we never want to miss a game all year for our listeners. We love our listeners. And you never know what you're going to hit. We had an early 3:30 game today that I threw a few lineups out there and did real well in it in that Oklahoma City Golden State game. But wanted to just run one thing off you, and then we'll dive into the games. Can you believe how bad Golden State has looked the first two games?
Yeah, their offense looks in shambles. Their second unit is just filled with guys that most casual NBA fans never even heard of. They're gonna have to figure something out, very quickly, and they're gonna be taking some bumps and bruises like we just saw today against a Thunder team that just mopped the floor with them. It was embarrassing. Curry was laughing. I mean, they are on a back to back, so maybe they just were saying throw this one in, throw the towel in, get ready for the next day kind of thing. But that was abysmal. That was an abysmal performance. One of the worst ones I can remember in this Golden State dynasty era.
I know, and that's why I brought it up because it's like it's funny because I talk to my son. He's 18, and his core of basketball has been in the last like 6 years, and Golden State's been like the champs or in the finals every year. So he can't fathom the fact that Golden State is so bad. And I know it sounds like I'm overreacting, but I'm telling you, you read the body language, you see the unit, the type of defense they play. D'Angelo doesn't fit in. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, brother. I really don't. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm counting them out.
It's a little too early to tell. I'm trying not to overreact to it, just because we've seen this Golden State team just kind of really put things together and click. It is not the same team, but they still have a lot of that same nucleus with Curry and Draymond leading the locker room. If Russell can kind of just find his gear and get used to this mesh, and they start to get some of their bigs back once like Looney's healthy, Willie Cauley-Stein's healthy, we'll probably be able to see a little bit of a different team. I still have them making playoffs, but not if they're playing like this. They obviously have to improve.
It seems like when they announced that Clay was going to be out for the whole year and not come back at all, it was almost like they were waving the flag right away before it even started. But anyway, we've got a monster 11-game slate. We don't want to run super duper long. We do have one announcement today that's exciting. I know that you were so excited. You were ringing my phone off the hook. I was receiving emails and texts from you. Your personal favorite has now come aboard as one of our sponsors at Hoopball, and it's manscaped.com. How about that? Can you believe it?
Listen, I am a massive fan of Manscaped. I remember these guys when they started. I think it was on Shark Tank when I first started, watching them with all their grooming kits, their buzzers, their shavers. The whole line's pretty incredible. And now we get to call them one of our sponsors, Coach, and we get to give out wonderful promo codes and try to share our knowledge of some of these good products. So jump on it. We never steer you guys wrong, and here's another one for you.
It is, man, and I'm doing it with a straight face. I had all kinds of good jokes set up, and I'm not gonna throw any of my dad jokes out there on the Beans and Franks and all the other stuff I had ready to go. But anyway, if you do go to manscaped.com and put in the promo code Hoopball, you get free delivery. So there you go. Buzz, buzz, clip, clip. Also, our presenting sponsor, as always, is Fantasy Draft. They are the reason our partnership, Hoopball and Fantasy Draft, is the reason that we bring you 7-day content free to our listeners. So we want to thank them. Definitely get to fantasydraft.com, put in the promo code Hoopball, get 7 free days of up to $1,000 in contests. Jump in their terrific daily NBA contest, $30,000 pick and roll that's $25 to get in, and a $7,500 layup that's $5. So, all right, let's jump into these games with no further ado. We want to keep everything rocking and rolling. You've got the first game. That's the Indiana Pacers at the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, so I mean, this is another game that we kind of just saw this game actually. First game opening night. It was actually one of Andre Drummond's big blow-up night where he had that 30-20 game, put up like 78 fantasy points across the industry. So I do think Drummond is probably going to be everyone's first option that's going to be in there. He did see a price bump across the industry, so he is priced accordingly now. I wouldn't expect that same game, but he's always going to be the top center available. So I have him on my board. Reggie Jackson is being considered doubtful, so Tim Frazier is most likely going to draw that start again. Only played 21 minutes in the last one, but he's always good for about 6 to 7 assists when he is starting. He can always kind of grab a couple rebounds and get a couple steals, and with the little bit of, I guess you could say, value that we have, because a lot of this value that we've been using is starting to get priced up a little bit. I think he's an option. That's kind of where I'm holding off right now when it comes to the Pistons. Again, Derrick Rose has been balling, and I know it seems like one of those things right when I jump on, it's going to be the wrong time. So I'm gonna kind of still avoid that. And as far as the Pacers, I'm really just looking at the main names, which is Brogdon and Sabonis. Turner now when he has to share the front court with Brogdon with Sabonis, it's really kind of cutting into his upside. And then just looking at guys like T.J. Warren. Really trying to find his fit. He's been struggling in the first couple games, kind of fell down on his hip really hard in the first game. So I think he's kind of playing through something, and we have Jeremy Lamb's questionable, and I'm not really looking at Edwin Sumner. So that's kind of where I'm at with this game, Coach. I don't know how you're feeling about it.
I think Edwin Sumner is my CPA's name, by the way. Just not sure. But anyway, I'm with you on Drummond. I mean, how can you not be? I was on him that day that he smashed against the Pacers. 80.25 fantasy points. I mean, how can you drift from that? It was painful in the last Drummond game because of the massive foul trouble. He still put up good enough numbers, but without the foul trouble, dude, I told you, if Blake Griffin doesn't play, which he's not going to play tomorrow, I just plug in Andre Drummond and move on to the next position. I just don't see any reason to drift from that, and I'm not going to tomorrow. So he will be the first guy in my lineup. On the Indiana side of the ball, I'm going to go to for the first time to Domantas Sabonis. I think that this matchup is a good one for him. He did well the first go around against him with Blake out, and he'll draw probably Markieff Morris, but he played very well against him last time. His price is reasonable enough that I can work him in my lineup. And the other guy that I'm going to consider, and I haven't made the final decision on, is Derrick Rose. You mentioned him, and he just looked so damn good the last game. And I know Frazier will draw the start, and like you said, he gets some decent run in there, but Rose is going to get all the crunch time minutes. I think this game can stay somewhat close, and he's going to get all the minutes down the stretch too. So I know it's only the first game, and we got 11 big games on the slate, but I'm starting out with Drummond, Sabonis, and probably some Derrick Rose in there as well.
Yeah, and again, he probably will go buck wild. It's like for him, it's like one of those Brandon Ingram things. I talked about this the other day when I was on with Andrew. And if I say don't play Brandon Ingram or I'm not playing him, it's probably a good chance that you should be playing him. He went off for 30. What was it, like a 30 and 15 that night, something like that. So this could be another one of those scenarios. So I'm not gonna knock you for it. I just can't stomach jumping on the train at the wrong time. So I'm gonna pass.
It's the money train, baby. You got to get on it. Choo choo. And shout out to our man Andrew Hansen at Language Olympic. I know he's probably sick to his stomach today because he's been preaching the Ja Morant world from preseason to now. And I think I actually talked him off Ja Morant because Tyus Jones has been cutting into his minutes. But Ja went off today, man. Did you see some of that game?
Yeah, he looked incredible, and I got a little scare when he hurt his hand halfway through because he was my favorite to win Rookie of the Year this year. I just think that he has that team. He's going to be basically just completely going for it at this point. Zion obviously before the injury was most likely the favorite, but he also was kind of integrating himself into not an established team, but a team with other key role players that will have to get their usage, will have to get their shot attempts, and a lot of other things. Morant is just Morant on this team. He's gonna, he's doing his best Trae Young from last season. He's getting off a little off to a quicker start than Trae probably did, but I think the sky's the limit for this kid. He's a scorer. He's got great vision, and he's even kind of tangling up there a little bit on the defensive end.
Yeah, he's fun to watch, but my apologies, Andrew, if I know I talked you off old Ja today, so I'm sure he was cussing under his breath at the old coach for sure. All right, dude. Game 2 on the early starts, 7 Eastern. Bulls, Knicks.
Awesome. So I'll just start with the Knicks, and one thing that we have to keep an eye on is Dennis Smith Jr. has already been ruled out. Looks like there was a death in his family, so he's not going to be attending the game. And to me, that's kind of where I'm going to take the most value from this game, and I'm going to go to Elfrid Payton. 5,100 on DraftKings, and again, I'm saying on DraftKings because this slate is not, or these two first games are not on the fantasy draft slate. They have a 9-game slate, while DraftKings main slate is 11. So I think Payton's going to be looking at some extended run here. Probably could see upwards to 28 to 30 minutes against a Chicago Bulls team that has statistically been pretty poor against opposing point guards in the past. So I think we can go to the well with this one. I mean, Randall's kind of getting up there a little bit in price for me. I think Barrett is always going to be in play. He's kind of been blowing the roof off the doors in the beginning of the season. 6,100 seems just about fair for me. And that's kind of where I'm drawing the line in the sand is really with those two guys. It is an 11-game slate, so I don't want to get ahead of myself and fall in love with a bunch of guys on the Knicks because that will always end well, especially with Fizdale over there. So I think that's just the two I'm looking at. And, jumping over to the Bulls side, just quick, I think it's pretty simple. It's, you're going with your main guys here. You're going to be looking at, Markkanen and Levine. I think they're both priced pretty fairly at $7,700 apiece. And that's kind of where I'm just sticking. I don't really want to touch the whole Otto Porter thing. Seems like he's going to be limited for quite some time, and now he's coming back from a game where he got popped in the mouth and needed a couple stitches on top of it. And then the whole guard situation as far as the point guard rotation, they're just jumbling it up where it's not leaving enough meat on the bone to really entice me with anybody.
I'm with you, man. On the Bulls side, I couldn't agree more. I mean, yeah, I love Kobe White, but, he, Dunn, and Satoransky are just all meshing those minutes into submission. It's hard to get somebody to be 3 or 4x when they're only playing 22 or 24 minutes max. So I'm staying away from all of that. I don't like the bigs for Chicago in this game at all either. And I'm also going to steer from Zach LaVine in this one. I just don't like the matchup as much. I think that he is somewhat points dependent. I like taking Zach when I feel he's going to go for 35 points or more real points. So I'm off the Bulls tomorrow. On the Knicks side, I have a little bit different take, I think, than you do, Mike, and I'm not sure, but it seemed like R.J. Barrett was getting a decent chunk of run at the point, even with Elf being available. It just seemed like down the stretch and in the crunch, for whatever reason, Fizdale's decided, I think, that he wants Barrett to lead the league in minutes. We already talked about the fact that he broke the record for most minutes played in a 5-game preseason in the history of preseason. So it's carrying over into the regular season. So that minutes equals money scenario that I always talk about definitely comes into play with R.J. Barrett. I think that he'll play a lot of 2, and then I think he bumps over to play the 1, when Elf's out for sure. And just those minutes alone with the constant rotation of Chicago guards, I'd like to use a little R.J. Barrett.
Yeah, definitely. He's 100% going to play some point guard. I think they both have some room for some upside, and I can see them both hitting value in this kind of game. I don't know necessarily if I would play both of them in the same lineup, but I would definitely expect both of them to be 2 guards that I almost look to get at least one of them in every lineup, especially in this matchup against Chicago. It's a pretty good one.
All right, man. We go to game 3, the 7:30 slate. This puts all sites in play, including fantasy draft. It's the Philadelphia 76ers, Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, so this is a game that we're going to kind of have to monitor the news on. Joel Embiid's currently listed as questionable. As we saw last game, when he does sit, it opens up a ton of value for just about everybody left in that starting lineup. So I'm going to do the same thing I did last time, and I'm going to kind of just base this off of Embiid not playing. And I think that opens up some good value for Horford and Tobias Harris again. I think both those guys are severely underpriced if he does sit. And I think there's room for both of them to hit value. I think Ben Simmons becomes an excellent play. He is priced like one. I mean, he is one of the top options on the slate. I believe he's the 5th most expensive guard, only behind Trae Young, Westbrook, Curry, and Harden. But this matchup is going to be extremely good for the Sixers. It's going to be extremely high tempo. Should be plenty of turnovers for Ben Simmons to take advantage of. So those are the 3 spots I'm really looking. I'm not trying to get too cute with it, and I'm definitely going to have at least one of those guys in every lineup.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, Atlanta, the pace they play at certainly makes any game they're in enticing. And I agree with you. I'm going to forecast this as Embiid not playing. And to me, that brings Tobias Harris into play. He stepped up in the last game. He looks like he's in rhythm. I think he's the number 1 option. I don't particularly want to pay that far up for Ben Simmons. So Harris is my Philadelphia option in this game. On the other side of the ball, I've been on the Trae Young money train so far this season, but his price has gone bonkers. I mean, good Lord. I can't see spending all my cash on Mr. Young, as awesome as he is and as well as he's playing. So, that takes him off the board for me. And, as far as the John Collins goes, he's tempting, but again, I think he's overpriced. So it seems odd because this game, you would think, I get it. It's a very good game to target, and I'm sure the over/under is going to be high in this game. But I think it's Tobias Harris is the only guy left standing for me in this matchup.
Yeah, I can't really, stomach paying for John Collins when you can get guys like you said, Harris and Horford are both severely cheaper. And I think Young can absolutely go buck wild in this game, but you're paying for him to go buck wild now, so he's not going to do what he's been doing the past 2 games every single night. And if you're kind of anticipating that, when you pay that price tag that he is, so I'm going to jump off of him on this one. Like you said, I'm probably not going to have too much shares in any of the Hawks, so I'm really looking on the Sixers side in this kind of game.
Excellent. And this next game is a game that I almost don't even want to talk about. It really sucks for DFS, in my opinion. It's the other 7:30 Eastern game, the stellar matchup of the Orlando Magic and the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, this is going to be like a good real life game, and I think this game will actually stay pretty close. Um, as far as you said, like for fantasy purposes and for DFS purposes, I'm not really too in love with anything. Both teams have pretty good defenses, and that's going to kind of hurt each other. And then we're also seeing a couple of these guys finally get a price bump, like Fred VanVleet's finally getting up there. Siakam's now at 16K on fantasy draft, so I don't, I do think there's probably a little left juice in the orange for Siakam. I just don't want to pay that price tag on a slate where I have plenty of other options to gravitate towards. And on the Magic side, it's a very similar situation. I'm not going to really play Vucevic when there's several other centers I'm more interested in. And then I don't really want to touch the guard situation right now. Just again, I think they're a little bit too expensive.
I've got one guy in this game, Mike, and I want you to talk me out of it because I feel like the Roadrunner and the Coyote when the Coyote's looking at the giant sucker in the middle of the road and he stops and then the big rock falls on his head. I used the analogy with Andrew the other day, but I feel like it's this one again. Markelle Fultz. Am I losing my mind thinking that he's all of a sudden becoming a player?
I think he's very good. I mean, he can get to where he wants on the court. He can get to the spots in the lane. Obviously, the jump shot still needs work, but the passing, the vision, a lot of the things, the defense, the length, and athleticism are all there. The one thing that he is missing is the minutes to kind of put it all together, so we could actually see a really good fantasy line. So I mean, I'm not going to go there just because I'm not expecting a massive performance where he's going to be winning me a GPP, and I do think that he has a low enough floor where he can bust some of your cash game lineup. So if that's what you needed to hear, I'm by more than happy to tell you not to play Fultz.
All right, man. I appreciate it. I'm off Fultz. He is on my radar, though. I'm starting to take notice. I do respect Toronto's team defense, and Lowry's defense has gotten so much better. So I will pass on Fultz. I'm not going to play Vuk against the Toronto Athletic bigs that can defend. And Gasol was a defensive player of the year. So even though he's not under the athletic group of Ibaka and those guys, he's still a solid defender. I've totally lost confidence in Isaac ever since that game where he played 32 minutes and took 0 for 3 from the field. He's dead to me. And, so this game just reeks of pass. I agree with you. I think it'll be a decent game as far as competitive. But it smells like one of those 96, 94, games that you just don't want anything to do with DFS. So I am happy to move on, sir, if you are.
Let's do it. Get off this game.
All right. The halfway point, the fifth game, or no, not even the halfway point. I guess 5.5 games would be the halfway point. But Oklahoma City Thunder and Houston Rockets, how much fun is it going to be to see the whole dynamic of Chris Paul and Harden? They hate each other, and you got the Westbrook thing, and it's like, what the heck? This is going to be a blast, man.
Yeah, this is going to be one of my favorite games to target, and it's going to be one just like I was talking about the other night with Andrew when it was the Rockets versus the Pelicans that I wanted to get a lot of pieces in this game. So, obviously I'll start with the Rockets side of the ball, and you have to look at just either Westbrook or Harden. I think you need to have one of those guys in your lineup. I'm going to keep kind of siding with Harden right now. I just love that he's still getting a fat usage. He's still putting together the triple doubles. He looks good. It doesn't look like the fingers are really bothering him, and it's playing against OKC, his former team. So there's got to be a little bit of a revenge narrative in there somewhere. I know that he kind of left the team on good terms when they were kind of tearing it apart. But you know what? It's his first chance facing his old team in his new home stadium. So I would expect a little fire and passion, and maybe James Harden saying, go get him. Taking his foot off the gas and kind of letting Westbrook do his thing. But again, it is also James Harden, and it's James Harden's former team, even though it was much longer ago. I think both those guys are basically, I'm starting my lineups with one of those two, and I can even see a few scenarios where I want to play both. And then I think Capella and PJ Tucker. I think we're going to have some other value where I don't really need to necessarily go to like your Daniel House in this kind of matchup, but he's always in play just if you need the price.
I'm with you, man. I'll tell you what. This is where I'm going narrative street. I'm going Russell all the way. I mean, he's such a motor guy and such a, you know, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He plays with so much emotion. The fact that he gets to go against his Thunder teammates, old Thunder teammates, I just think he lets it all hang out. And I agree with you. I think Harden will defer to him just enough to flip that switch, and Westbrook's still a little cheaper than Harden. So, yeah, I'm gonna ride down narrative street and take Westbrook in this matchup for sure. I feel good about that. On the other side of the ball, though, I like Shea in this matchup too. He's been one of my favorite targets so far this year, and I think he has something to prove in this game a little bit. He sort of took the mantle as the best player on the team from Westbrook when he left, because everybody knows Paul's just there for a short time and then he's going to be traded on. But I think Shea's going to be the face of the Thunder moving forward. And I think this is somewhat of a statement game for him. And, for that reason, I'm going to have him in some lineups along with Westy.
Yeah, no, I mean Shea's been absolutely balling out. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if you drafted him in like your year long league, you're reaping the benefits right now. The price tag is getting up there a little bit. He's 13-1 now, so we're talking about a few other guys on this slate that I think have similar upside and maybe will be far less owned. Your Mike Conley, your Lonzo Balls, a couple other guys that we'll get to. But he's definitely in play just because, again, I love this game. I'm going to love this matchup. I'm going to be stacking it a few different ways. And I think he'd probably be one of my first pieces on the Thunder side. And then I'd also probably look at a little bit of Danilo Gallinari. You could play Chris Paul with the revenge narrative as well. And, maybe he gets all fired up. But he's kind of been, like you said, he's been very passive. So far, I was actually expecting him to have a little bit of a higher usage rate, get a few more shot attempts. But a lot of the offense is actually running through Shea too, so I think I'm mostly looking at him and Gallinari. I don't know if this is the matchup where I want to target Steven Adams, but the rebounding upside's always there with him, and he's a cheap enough price tag where I think it's okay.
All right, man. Let's move on to game 6. We've got 8 p.m. Eastern time start. Cleveland Cavaliers at the Milwaukee Bucks, and this should be an interesting game. The Bucks have not really been playing to the level that everybody thought. They're only 1-1, but it's just they haven't looked as crisp as I thought. And this game certainly could be a blowout, Cavs at Bucks, but maybe not. You never know what's going to happen in the crazy NBA. But what do you think about this game, Mike?
I think it's a major stay away for me. I don't care how I know you said they haven't looked crisp, but they're still this Bucks team, and it's still the Cavs team. They just don't have the personnel to keep up or the depth to keep up with the Bucks. I think Giannis will absolutely have his way on the interior. There's no way that Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love can even remotely stay with him. So I just think it should probably get out of hand pretty quickly. And even if it comes into a stacking situation where this game does stay close, there's not a lot of players on the other side of the ball on the Cavs where I have too much interest in as far as price per dollar and their upside and what they could possibly do in a GPP for me. So I mean, even Giannis kind of scares me a little bit. Like I said, we have some other studs. We have our when you're talking about a game where we have Harden and Russell Westbrook and what should be a more competitive matchup, it's kind of tough for me to get up to that Giannis price tag of 18.8. But it's the Greek freak. He could easily break a slate. He's put up 69 and 70 something fantasy points in back-to-back games. And if this game, or if he were to play at least 32 minutes, I don't see why he wouldn't do it in this one either.
I'm with you, man. This is my favorite play of the night, Mr. Michael Apotria. And not like this is like the hottest take since any takes, but I'm going with Giannis tonight tomorrow night as my number one play on the entire slate. I think that the matchup just reeks of just him pounding them. There's no way Love or Nance or Thompson or any of these guys stick with him at all. I think he's been a little frustrated in these first couple of games. He was even chirping at his teammates a little bit. And I just see this as Cleveland will keep it just close enough that Giannis just has one of his burst out games. I mean, I'm looking at 75 plus fantasy points for Giannis tomorrow night, which is a bold ass call, but he's the only guy I'm touching in this game. I want nobody from Cleveland, and I'm not comfortable taking any of the other Milwaukee guys ever. I think there's so much Giannis and then just a complementary of everybody else. I don't even consider close tier with Middleton or Bledsoe or any of those guys like I used to. So to me, this is Giannis crunch time. Figure out how to make my salary, find some value guys across the board, and pass with everybody else in this one. Am I crazy for spending up that much?
No, and it's like I said, I don't mind it whatsoever. I'm not going to completely fade Giannis by any means. I'm just not going to get overexposure to him because if this game gets out of hand and he has like a 60-point night, which is still 60 fantasy points on fantasy, you'll take that on any given night. But I just don't think that kind of night is going to get it done with some of these other stars that we have to choose from and their kind of matchups that are in play. So. I'm also, once I started doing a couple of shell lineups that I'm constructing, that difference from, going from the 18-8 that you'd be spending on Giannis to, let's say, going with one of the guards over there in Houston, the savings actually does matter a little bit. The $1,000 or the $1,500 dropping down to Harden or Westbrook from Giannis may come in handy at the end. So it's really going to depend on your construction and how much exposure. If you're getting your exposure some other way to that game, I don't know how you're going to be successful if you're fading both those guards necessarily. Then that's kind of the situation where I'd probably gravitate to them a little bit more.
All right, man. And I can tell you, if the listeners can't figure it out by now, I think it's pretty obvious. I'm going stars and scrubs all the way tomorrow night. The Monday night slate for me, it'll probably be Westbrook and Giannis and hopefully Shea, and then value, min price. So it's going to be interesting. But, I was so proud of my Duncan Robinson today. He was 0.6% owned at bare ass minimum. I had him locked in 100% of my lineups, and in 26 minutes, he poured in 21 points and real points, finished with 30.3 fantasy. And that's the kind of, when that happens, you feel so good because then you can sit on, LeBron's and stuff in the late games. And I haven't taken a peek at that game, by the way, since LeBron had one at halftime. I'm too nervous to take a look. But, so that's probably going to be my build for tomorrow, for Monday for sure. Quickly, as we have 5 games left on this slate, isn't this just fucking great? I hate to swear with the big F-bomb, but 11 NBA games. How awesome is this, man?
It's the nights now can't get boring. I mean, no matter what. When I walk in my door, I immediately start kind of breaking down my research. I'm not gonna lie, if my boss is listening to this at my day job, he would probably be pretty upset to know that in between my meetings and appointments and everything else, I try to take a glimpse at NBA Twitter to see who's in, who's out. I might start building a few little shell lineups on my phone when messing around with them. So I try to get my knowledge in throughout the day, but it's just wonderful when you have an 11 game. I could just flash from game to game to game up until the point where I'm closing my eyes, waking up the next day, and drinking my nice warm Hawaiian Island Kona coffee.
It's beautiful, man. And I'm on the pod tomorrow by myself. So I guarantee you that I'm going to be taking in all these games and doing a real late night pod by myself to send over to our man Besbris, because he's on the West Coast. So, it's never late here, compared to over there, because those guys are so far off time wise from us. So I can see that happening tomorrow, but I just had to mention it because, we went through that 6 weeks of preseason and then all the summer stuff before that, all the shows waiting to get to this. And now this is just big, fat, juicy DFS NBA time. It's awesome, man. All right. I want to thank, again, Fantasy Draft, our presenting sponsor. We mentioned earlier, manscaped.com. They're our new sponsor. Go to their website, put in the promo code HoopBall for free delivery of all merchandise that you purchase. MyBookie.ag. If you play other than DFS and you're looking to bet on games and do all of that stuff. MyBookie.ag is fantastic. They're one of the best, if not the best, in the industry. And we got to mention our old buddy, day one. We probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them starting off. Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company. Get on Amazon, order your Hawaiian Isles Kona coffee. They are awesome, man.
Yeah, listen, it's in my cup every morning for a reason. I like to give them the success when I do win a big, have a big lineup night. It starts with what's in your cup in the morning, man. It's what gets me going in the morning. I'm a bright and early guy, coach. A lot of people probably already know that. I'm usually up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m.
Wow.
And me and my girlfriend were talking about it. They're saying there's a new sleep gene where some people are born with it, and it's like you can get 2, 3 hours, 4 hours of rest, but you feel like you've had a full night's. So I think some of that's in me because some days I don't feel like I get the full night's rest. It catches up to me and I crash. But right now I'm on this NBA high, and I can pretty much sleep 3, 4 hours a night, and just as long as I'm building lineups and watching games, I'm fueled to go.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. Remember, too, you can find us wherever podcasts are found, whether you're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeart, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere. Just put in Hoopball DFS today. You don't even have to put the NBA in there. Hoopball DFS today, we're going to come up. We're just blowing up, man. Our people are listening left, right, and center with our podcast. Do take a second, though. It really, really helps us when we get the 5 stars, the likes, the thumbs up, give a quick review. That really keeps our sponsors happy. So we really, really appreciate that. All right, man. We've got 5 games left on this awesome Monday night 11-game slate. And we were talking a little bit prior to the show about the complete dismantling of a champion of this nightmarish start for the Golden State Warriors. It's really sad to see. And they're going against a team at New Orleans Pelicans who are like the up-and-coming, everybody wants to be them team. So this is going to be, if this doesn't spell out like the Warriors are going to win this game, I mean, the NBA gods always do this to us. We got one team that looks like death, another team that's coming up out of nowhere, and boom, Golden State wins this game, don't they?
Yeah, I would imagine that's just kind of the mentality I'm taking. But I'm also going to limit my exposure a little bit. On Golden State side of the ball, I definitely have interest in Curry. I do prefer, your Hardens and, Giannis and Westbrook probably a little bit more than him. But it's all about dibbling and dabbling kind of when you're constructing these lineups. And sometimes I think spending up at guard is a little bit easier to do. Now that if you're playing on a site like Fantasy Draft where you're allowed to play so many centers now, that's kind of generally where I like to try to get some of my value because, getting a guy that's even playing 23 minutes off the bench with the right usage at the right position, like if it's in the front court, you can easily get a double-double and hit your value. It's a lot harder for a guard to kind of get one of those double-doubles, if it's a point guard, if he's playing 22 minutes. So that's always kind of my approach when I'm looking for my value. And I think Curry kind of would fit that build of saving down at the forward spot. And I'm looking at Draymond. They're gonna be without Looney again, so they're gonna have to use Draymond for some heavy minutes. This is kind of a good matchup that would fit his suit. That's gonna be a high tempo game where we're gonna see the push pace. We're gonna see a lot of transition points, I think, in this game. And those are the two guys on that team that would most likely thrive in that kind of situation. I think D'Angelo Russell is just a straight fade for me until I can see he figures it out in this scenario, in this situation that he's in now. And I'm not really going to be dumpster diving with, Marquise Chris or Omri Spellman. Chris might be a popular tournament play for other people, but I just seen the foul trouble and just the boneheaded mistakes that he can make and how that can just be so painful to watch when the rest of your lineup's on fire.
Well, that's a perfect lead in for me because I am a bonehead, and that's a perfect mix. Me and Marquise Chris. I'll take him. I'm going to take him because I am dumpster diving at this point. I need some value. And Marquise Chris is their starting center. He's played really well, and he seems to be fitting in there well. That last game, he still did okay, and he did have foul trouble. I think he gets more minutes than Spellman without that foul trouble for sure. So he's going to make some of my lineups, no doubt about it. And, on that whole vein of being, looking for value, the guy that I think has been terrific has been Josh Hart. He's getting a ton of minutes. he's going to be called upon to guard Curry a lot in this game. I think that he brings a lot of value to the table. He gets some steals. He definitely gets some rebounds for a small guy. So I love his value. So really, those are the two guys. I'd love to be able to sit here and say, yeah, take Curry, take Ingram, take all that. But we live in a salary based world here where we can't just take the top guys of every team. So my two value plays are going to come out of this game are Hart and Chris. And I want to give. I'm pumped for Brandon Ingram, by the way. I wish I had the money to take him the salary because I just love the way he stepped up. I've been tooting his horn since the beginning of preseason. I'm in 5-year-long leagues, and I have him in all 5. He and Porzingis are the only two guys I have in all 5 leagues. And I love the way he's playing. And I think he's going to continue to do that until Zion gets back. I think once Zion gets back, he'll steal some of that thunder. But until then, if you could jam him in wherever you can, man, jam him in.
Yeah, I like the Josh Hart call. I'm going to be on him again as well, especially if we hear Drew Holiday decides he needs to take another game to kind of rest that sore knee that he's been dealing with. So yeah, I think he's definitely 100% going to be in play for me. He was probably one of my favorite mid-tier price tag kind of guys. He's not really a dumpster dive, but he's not really too expensive. I'll go back to Lonzo a little bit. I think just without Drew Holiday, he's going to have the ball in his hands for a lot of this game. And I think that's kind of been also what's been helping Ingram a little bit. Like last game, we got to see Ingram bring the ball up a lot too. So between those two guys, having the ball in their hands is when they're the most successful. So I think those 3 plus Hart, or those 2 plus Hart, are going to be my primary focus. While I take a backseat on the front court guys, I'm okay with those. I don't want to play your Mellies or your Jahlil Okafors or Derek Favors. Just not enough upside for me in this kind of matchup.
I'm right with you, man. All right, we go to the 8:30 Eastern start, which is the only game that starts at that time. Then the last 3 are all late games. And this one should be a snoozer as far as, to me at least, as far as DFS is concerned. You have Portland versus the Spurs. Portland's coming off, they'll be playing a back-to-back where they played the Mavs right down to the buzzer. Really tough loss for the Mavs by 1. They had the coach's challenge overturned with 8 seconds left. Really sucked. I was not happy about it. But the Trailblazers guys played big minutes. CJ was awesome. Some of the other guys were awesome. They're going to be shorthanded, though. Zach Collins dislocated his shoulder, so he's going to be out for quite some time. And they're going to be a little thin on a back-to-back. Going into San Antonio, where they'll put the clamps on them, just makes me not want to take any Trailblazers. And then as far as the Spurs go, man, they're a decent team. They really are. Pop's amazing. They're 2-0, but I just never feel comfortable taking any of the guys. They all share the ball. They rotate a lot of guys. Murray looks terrific, but they're still giving Forbes and White enough time. Aldridge and DeRozan are still priced a little too high for really the usage that they're getting. So this is a Passola game all the way around for me, Mike.
I'm kind of with you as far as like not getting a lot of interest. As far as the stars on the Trailblazers, I really don't want to play too much Dame or CJ, just at back-to-back, like you said. The Spurs guards are very good defensively. DeJounte Murray is a lockdown defender. His minutes are still going to be limited, so that's kind of going to scare me off. I was on him last game. But it's not just going to be. It's going to be a night-to-night kind of thing for me when it comes to DeJounte. Once we know his minutes limit is over and he's playing 30 plus, he's going to be like a lock and load for me on a lot of slates. But I think if you're dumpster diving, coach, you're going to want to take advantage of this Zach Collins injury and look at Mario Hezonja or your Scott Labissiere, who are both next to min salary. One of those guys, and in this kind of matchup, you'd have to imagine, see a little bit of an extended run. And Hezonja, we've seen he's got quite a ceiling on him. Even in garbage time, it seems like his minutes might be secured, and both those guys would still play even if the game were to get out of hand. So I can imagine them having like a floor of about 20 minutes. In Hezonja, if they do decide to go with that small ball, a little bit more, and when they play like Aldridge at the 5, I think he can easily see about 26 minutes. So he'll definitely be an option for me. if I want to get down there. I think it was only 62 or 6,400 on Fantasy Draft.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, man. And those sometimes that's where you do find your value when you have a guy injured or a team on a back-to-back where somebody's going to get some extra minutes. That was my Duncan Robinson thinking today with the Heat on a back-to-back. So I'm glad you brought that up. I am going to examine that a little bit and wait to hear some of the news tomorrow. But cool. Anything else on that game for you?
Nah, I mean, if I were to play a Spur, it would probably be Aldridge just for the little narrative playing his former team, but it's not like they're playing in Portland. It's going to be a game in San Antonio. I generally try to target Aldridge a little bit when he goes back to playing Portland. He kind of gets up for those games.
Yeah, definitely. I'm getting buzzed on my phone. I don't know if that's a good thing about basketball or a bad thing. Let's see. I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to look. Let's see where we go next. We have 3 games left. We have a 10 p.m. Eastern game, the Utah Jazz at the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, and I mean, just Jazz team, it's kind of a little bit of different. We're seeing Mike Conley struggle. We're seeing Gobert kind of struggle a little bit right now. But if there's a get-right matchup, it's going to be one against the Suns that kind of play at that high-tempo offense that bleeds points. DeAndre Ayton's going to be missing, so we know there's going to be some value on the other side. But let me try to stay on brand. I'll stick with the Jazz. I think I might actually try playing a little bit of Mike Conley this game. Just kind of cross my fingers.
Shooting like 2%, bro.
Exactly. I'm hoping for that, that get right bounce back game. If Rubio does sit, he'll get a matchup against Javon Carter. So I think that's one that he could take advantage of, and I think he could take advantage of this whole game on the defensive end. I think he's going to cause some fits. He's going to spend some time on Booker, I'm sure. That's kind of, I think that's where we were talking about a few of the other guards earlier in the games who are right around that price range of that 3,100 on Fantasy Draft, where I think that we can get Conley in a very, very low owned situation if he's the same price as Shai. Yes, Shai has performed much better than him, possibly has a better overall game pace and game setup than Conley does, but I think that's kind of the definition of a tournament GPP. If you wanted to pivot off of Shai, I think that Conley's probably the second best option I would go for in that price range.
Interesting, man. That's why you're such a manscaped.com fan, because you have the big stones to take a guy that's shooting single digits percentage from the field. I love it, man. I love it. Yeah. I can't do it, but I am going to. If you do have the stones to do it, I'll be rooting for you for sure. Conley's a vet, and we all know he'll come out of this. But, I guess if you're on him when he does, you got to feel doubly satisfied. But, I mean, on the Utah side, it's hard. I like Donovan Mitchell, but his price is too high. Utah still plays a slower pace for sure. They do, Bogdanovich, who I like, is back now. He had missed a little while with an ankle, and so he'll get some usage, with Gobert and all the moving pieces. They're probably my least favorite team to take anybody on DFS ever is the Jazz. So I'm just not going to go there. I know it's against Phoenix, who's not the best defensive team, and they do play an up tempo, but I still just can't pull the trigger on when you have 22 teams to pick from. I just can't see myself rostering a Utah Jazz guy. On the Phoenix side, the guy I've been just so pumped about, his price is still good enough that you can take him. And I bet you know who I'm going to say. Who am I going to say?
Yeah, it's got to be Frank the Tank. I'm assuming
No, it's not Frank. I do like that take because he's super cheap. But I like a guy that's not quite that as cheap, but he's still cheap enough. Oubre. Yeah, he's playing with so much confidence. He's so athletic. And, with Ayton out and maybe Rubio out again, other than Booker, he's like the next go-to guy by a mile. So, Oubre is going to be in some of my lineups for sure. And really, that's the only guy out of this game that I like, man.
I do like Oubre a good amount. I think he's way too cheap for what he's been doing. He's only 11.9, so that leaves plenty of meat on the bone. Gives him a nice safe
Yeah,
floor for cash games, and gives him the ceiling for GPPs. I thought you were going to say Frank Kaminsky because Frank's just been crushing it.
he had.
He has seen a nice little elevate in price tag though. He's like 10.5 now in fantasy draft, so he's really only
Oh,
1,400 cheaper than Oubre, which isn't that much. And he's
that just
actually
happened in this last day because
exactly.
he was dirt cheap.
Yeah, so I do like him. I'm going to shy away from him slightly, though. I'm not going to get as much exposure as I've had in the past few days for the sole reason I think a lot of people are going to kind of go back to that well, just looking at the game logs and not really pay attention to how much his price has increased. And it is a tough matchup for bigs. Rudy Gobert is he's maybe not have been that great this season on offense. He never really is known for it, but he's the two-time defensive player of the year now. So not a guy I generally want to target. And I think Dario Saric at 9,400 is still a little too underpriced with this kind of whole situation. DeAndre Ayton missing. He saw a little extended run, grabbed a nice double-double. And I'm actually shocked that he's so much cheaper than Kaminsky, considering he's the starter in the situation, played more minutes last game. Kaminsky's 1,100 more. So for me, it's those three guys. I'm never going to say don't play Booker, but it's not a situation where I'm going to be overly high on him.
Perfecto, man. Two left. Another 10 o'clock start. Definitely an intriguing game here for sure. This will be a fun one to watch. And I think there's some good DFS takeaway in this game, too. It's the Denver Nuggets at the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, so I'll start over here with the Nuggets. This is a team that is very deep, so it's kind of hard to get too overly excited about any one particular player, especially with your boy Jokic over there looking like, would you say, 350 something pounds or something like that?
I've got him at 347.
Yeah. Came out and dropped a fat triple double against Phoenix the last game, and that kind of brought everyone back down to earth. And it's like, all right, it doesn't matter if he's fat; he's still very good at basketball, and he can still do no look passes with his
Have
eyes
you ever
closed.
seen the meme where the fat guy with no shirt on, it goes right up against Ben Stiller's face playing one-on-one?
Oh yeah, that's it's from the movie. I think it's Along Came Polly.
Yes, that's what it is. That's how I felt watching Jokic, and it was his stomach in my face because I badmouthed him, I faded him, and he slammed a triple double right in my chop. So I had the Ben Stiller sweat face going, dude.
Well, I don't blame you for kind of fading him. He was looking like he needed to kind of get a little bit more comfortable and figure everything out and kind of get the rust off since the FIBA games. Kind of took a little bit of a break in between FIBA and the whole training camp. He didn't really play too much. So I do think he's in play in this kind of game. The Kings are going to be a little bit weak in their front court. Missing Giles is going to be questionable, missing Bagley, so that leaves plenty of opportunity for the bigs. But other than that, I'm really just looking at like Jamal Murray, and it's not a play that I'm overly excited about. I just think he's a fair price, and if you kind of land there, fantastic. It allows you to kind of get some exposure. We know the Kings are pretty bad at covering shooters in their wings and opposing shooting guards. And yes, I know Murray plays point guard, but he also plays kind of like a shooting guard as well. So that's kind of where my, where I'm really looking on the Denver side. And as far as the Kings, I'm not really overly excited about anything. De'Aaron Fox actually took a little spill and was playing a little bit hobbled, I think, last game.
Yeah.
So I'm not really going near him. I think Buddy Hield's a more than fair price tag, but he's kind of not looking like the exact same guy that we were all in love with last season. Last game really struggled in only 20 minutes of play, scoring only 3 points. So there is a low floor that is there, but at this price tag, I feel confident to say that he's a pretty solid cash game option.
Beautiful. All right, I've got a value play here, and I love this guy. I am on him right now. He is zoned in, and he's going to get 25 to 30 minutes, absolute minimum. And it's one of my dumpster dive value picks, but he's playing for a contract. He's on Sacramento. He just turned down $51 million because he wants to play it out this year, and it's Bogdan Bogdanovic. He is playing really good ball, and he ate into Hield's time last week, or in last game, I'm sorry, and he's getting in that rotation and playing a lot of guard. I think Fox is going to be limited slightly. He's got took that shot in the ribs, and he almost didn't even play the last game, but he did get minutes. But I just love the way Bogdanovich looks. He's super motivated, super confident. His minutes keep increasing, and I think he gets in that rotation equally with Fox and Hield, and is a super bargain price. So that's my big takeaway on the Sacramento side of the ball. On the Denver side, if I'm not mistaken, I think Murray has a little bit of a sore ankle or something where he's playing and he's okay, but he's not 100%. Obviously, you know how I feel about Jokic. Millsap's looking older by the game. And, I just, Barton, I tried to play one time as a value play, and you just never know what you're going to get with him. You could get 5 or 30. It's just, you just don't know. So I don't know. Denver's a hard team for me, man. I know that, it's Sacramento. It's up pace. It should be a game where there's some guys to target. But every time I look at Denver, I can't force my button to click on a Gary Harris or Paul Millsap or Jamal Murray or Jeremy Grant or any of these guys. So I'm pass on Denver. I don't know. I don't think I've rostered a guy from their team except Barton, which was a mistake that one day. So I'm staying with the value play on Bogdanovich. I'm not down on Hield. I still like Hield and think he can do well enough, but his price is too high. So again, it's the damn salary world that we're in. So that's really the only guy I'm going to go to in this one, Mike.
So I don't mind Bogdanovich. I was actually pretty high on him in the last game. I mentioned that I do believe that when they do shift Barnes up to the 4, that he'll see a little bit more extra run at the 3. Now that Bagley's been out, so I do think he's an option. It just really comes down to I think he's a pivot, in my opinion. If we do hear that like Drew Holiday's out, I'm gonna be hard pressed to play him over a guy like Josh Hart at almost an identical price tag. Especially for cash games, I think Hart would probably be the better play. But Bogdanovich makes for a solid pivot, knowing that he does have a little bit of upside. But I also try to factor in that these Denver guards, Gary Harris is excellent defensively, and when they take one excellent guard out, they put another one in there. So it's almost like you're playing 2 first unit defense type of players when you're playing them. Even if you're a second unit guy, I don't usually give the second unit guys too much of a bump going into Denver or playing Denver. So I don't knock it, but that's kind of where I'm standing with it.
No, I love that point. I mean, Gary Harris is a fantastic defender. So, the question is, is he going to get all that defensive run against Hield, or, will they switch him over on Fox a little bit if Murray's not full speed? And, does that mean Bogdanovich gets some second-tier defenders?
Torrey Craig, though.
Yeah,
he's also a very good defender. That's kind of why I try to I don't mind it. Everybody gets their good shooting nights, but that Denver team, they do have very good wing defenders. They do one after another. When one comes out, they send another one right in there.
That's a good point, man. Now I'm going to have to second guess myself, but I'm going to be looking and watching. I do like the trend that he's on and the way that Bogdanovich is playing.
Excellent trend. I'm right with you on the trend. I do think that there's going to be big games to come. And hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does show up and have a big game. I was on him last game, so I'm not saying jump off of him necessarily. Yeah. I just think that dictating by the slate, I think that with Josh Hart there, I don't know if I'm going to have to go there. Again, Josh Hart's probably going to be close to like 50% owned if we hear Drew Holiday's out. If not, maybe even a tick higher, especially in your cash games. So there is a merit to fading them and kind of going with the pivot if you're trying to separate yourself.
That's why you're the shark, man. That's why. All right, dude, last game. 11 games, 11th game, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The Charlotte Hornets get to play in the same building 2 nights in a row. They're playing the Lakers as we speak. Tomorrow, they play the Clippers.
Yeah, I'm not playing anybody on Charlotte. There's not a chance I play anybody, and it's not even just because of the matchup. It's not necessarily just because of the stellar defense that the Clippers play with. It's because this team's spending a night in Los Angeles. They're going to go out tonight because they're going to be in Los Angeles. So there's always the watch out for the guys spending the night over there in Miami. Watch out the guys spending a night over there in LA. And I think this is a young team who might take advantage of that LA nightlife. It may sound crazy, but it's just another reason for me to kind of steer clear of them on top of all the other messy situations that they're dealing with. And over there on the Clippers, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of just the regular pieces that we're normally looking at. I think Kawhi is kind of doing some sort of load management with them where they're not trying to overly play him. I think he was at like 31 minutes in the last game when the game was actually, fairly like competitive where they could have actually used him at some times. But instead they opted to sit him on the bench. So I'm not really trying to force him into any lineups, especially in this matchup where it can get out of hand early. But the one guy I do have some slight interest in, if might be Patrick Beverly, and it's just again another little value saver. He's a tier
Mm-hmm.
below the price tag accordingly to those other guys that we were just talking about. Your Josh Hart and your Bogdanovich. He's only 9,200, so that extra 700 or 600 or whatever it may be might be able to afford something else in there. And he's been pretty consistent as far as his minutes. 31, 28, and 29 minutes so far this year, and he's been flashing about 25 points, 24 points a game. So I think he makes for
Yeah.
a solid cash game play if you need to save a couple bucks.
Very smart move there. Very smart. I like it. Um, as far as much as I like the late night hammer and the late night sweat, I am not going to. I'm not going to touch this game. I agree with you. I don't trust Charlotte on a back-to-back, specifically having such a young team in LA. I mean, what are the chances? Rozier, Graham, PJ Washington, Monk. These dudes are going to be at the club in LA tonight. Let's just face it. I mean,
I
come
wouldn't
on.
doubt it. That's
I
kind
mean,
of my
I
thinking
would
too.
be. I'm not saying anything negative about them. I'd be with them, man. I'd be out there. They'd have to, I'd be making it rain a little bit. It is what it is. So, I just, it's hard to take them against the clampdown Clippers defense. And this game, the reason I really can't take anybody is I just feel it's going to be a blowout. I think the Clippers will limit them in the first half, crunch them down, be up quite a bit, and load management comes into play and minutes rotations, and so I don't want to be disappointed with that game when I'm really not going to trust the minutes. I certainly can't afford to pay up for Kawhi in this position, so. I know it's sort of a buzzkill to end an 11 game slate with a game that I'm just totally passing, but it is what it is. Sometimes the games you pass are just as important as the games you play.
Absolutely. I think this is definitely a good one to pass on. Just that the whole scenarios that we talked about. The Hornets are just not a good team. They don't have a lot of good upside kind of guys. I don't see Cody Zeller or Terry Rozier, PJ Washington, any of these guys breaking an 11 game slate. So I think you can just tuck your money
Yeah,
away and feel good about it.
can you believe our man Andrew was trying to roster Tyler Zeller on last night's show?
Oh gosh.
I
Well,
know.
it's a good thing
I
you're on that show. I might have snapped.
I had to give him a little heat. I said I would play. I'd take him on in any head to head, and he could roster Tyler Zeller, and we'd go. We'll get right on there and make it happen because Tyler Zeller's selling State Farm Insurance in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm not sure how many points he's going to be putting up on the board, but had to give Andrew just a small little kick in the pants. He's a rookie of the three of us, so. Plus, he was crushing you on the show last night. Oh my God, I had to defend you, Mike. He was killing you.
See, I actually didn't listen to last night's show, and
See,
now I
now
have a
I'm
reason to.
telling you the truth.
Now, yeah, I think I gotta go back and listen to this one just before I fire off on Andrew through text message,
Oh,
just to get a little bit of a clarification. I appreciate you guys, by the way, doing your thing on my day off. But now that I'm getting bashed, maybe I gotta pop in here once in a while.
he
Just
was
to see what's,
merciless, man. It was a pottery of this, oh, I couldn't believe it. I
yeah.
felt bad for you, dude.
I'm sure it wasn't the old guy hammering on the keyboard behind the mic over there. No, I'm sure he had nothing to do with it. Yeah, all that extra time you got now, I could just picture you with your notepad writing jokes, just riling them off, Coach. I see you doing it. I can see it.
I got to give you, I did get a strong chuckle over the silver alert thing. That was pretty damn funny. I'll give you 1 point there. And by the way, I am down 2-1 on this damn chicken suit challenge, and we haven't even talked about going at it with two guys. Damn it. I got to get on this right away. I can't stand being behind in this contest.
Hey, well, listen, I'll take a bet anytime. I'm okay with losing one here and there. I went down 0-1, but I came back firing strong, up 2-1 now, Coach. I told you, maybe I'll just retire. Who knows? I got this thing in the bag though. I think already.
I'm gonna shame you.
Let me know.
Next show we do together, I'll have a couple loaded up and ready.
I'll get them loaded. I'll pick them on the spot, and I'll take them. I'll take them tenfold. Listen, I'm not worried about it, Coach. I got the luck on my side right now when it comes to this chicken suit thing.
Well, you have Amazon Prime, right? You get it free delivery, so you get the chicken suit free delivery. You can't beat that. You get your Manscaped free delivery. You get your Kona coffee free delivery. You're set.
I don't. Why pay shipping? It's a thing of the past nowadays. Who doesn't order everything online? I mean, I can't tell you the last time I went to the store and actually bought my chicken suits. I'm strictly an Amazon Prime guy when I'm ordering my chicken suits offline.
I know. Your girlfriend had mentioned a little bit about that, but I don't want to go there. That's personal. So.
Yeah, we try to keep that tucked away in the bedroom with the chicken suits, but
something about chasing around a farmer, pitchfork. I don't know what it was all about, but it sounded very interesting, whatever it was. But okay. All right, brother. Hey, reminder though for our listeners. Remember, we're doing this the night before. There's going to be a lot of news, a lot of stuff that comes out tomorrow during the day. Hopefully you're listening to this on your way to work on a Monday or your lunch break. But tune into our Twitter accounts and at hoop-ball.com on the forums. We have a DFS forum thread where our guys Miles and Andy are updating constantly. You can catch me at Joe Sarvadi. That's JoeSarvadi. He is at Mike Apotria, MikeApotria. And Andrew is at Language Olympic. And also at Hoopball Fantasy will also, the blurbs go up there as well. So don't forget to, tune in, listen. It only takes one guy that can screw up your lineup or make your lineup. So you want to follow that all the way up until lock.
Absolutely, Coach. And I just got it. How about this? Give me Conley versus Shea tomorrow. How's that? Same price tag.
Oh my God! It's tied 2-2.
Yeah, let's see. I
Shea
hope
Shea
not.
versus the 2% shooting Mike Conley. Done.
Yep, I like it, man. I'll take it. And hey, if it's 2-2, well, I'll get the next one. But I want to keep this bet thing going. I'm feeling good about it.
Oh man, thank you for the gift, man. You're the best. All right, dude. Any closing thoughts?
Nah, man, that's all I got. Let's go into this 11-game slate and just keep crushing it, man. We've been doing well this season. I like to again, thumbs up, review, do what you guys got to do. Get us on Twitter, jump in our forums. Definitely check out some of the other stuff that we have floating around here in Hoopball. Some of our featured articles. You'll see some of the, premium subscription stuff, some of the DFS 101 stuff back there. So, take advantage of it. Subscribe, like, comment, review. Love us.
Absolutely, man. Beautiful. Well, you guys out there and gals, enjoy your work week. And as we get back into things on Monday, you can have a smile on your face all day knowing you have an 11-game NBA slate waiting for you when you get home. So great stuff, man. Great show. Look forward to seeing how the Conley versus Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. All right, dude. We want to thank you, everybody, for joining us for Hoopball NBA DFS today. For Mike Apotria, I'm Coach. We look forward to catching you again tomorrow when we're going to crush it on NBA DFS.
Take care, guys.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.